Welcome to In Focus. I'm your host, Thuy Phan. When you think of winter, you think of snow and ice, but what you probably don't think about is that snow and ice being cut and carved into beautiful sculptures and how it got there. Well, we did, and we got a chance to go behind the scenes to Carving Ice, a company that specializes in art sculptures. So join me as we find out what it takes to turn a block of ice into a work of art. If ever there was a North Pole in Orange County, this is it. Carving Ice is one of the few companies that specializes in ice sculptures and have been doing this for close to 2 decades.
What we have here is our CNC machines, where we come out here, we can operate our CNC machines, and in the freezer we have a 3-axis machine that actually does most of our carvings when they're programmed. Let's step right in here and we can show you the machine as they're working. We can place up to 9 logo pieces on the deck here, and in about, I'd say about 2.5 hours, you have 9 logos cut, and that's very fast. In comparison, when you do them by hand, they typically take, for 9 logos, about 8 hours if you're good. This particular machine, which is our 3rd axis, it does automatic tool changers. Tool change anywhere from 1-inch bit all the way down to 3/32 bit. You never have to go in there and change it manually. Right now, these are we're cutting bases for an ice bar that we're doing for Saturday. So they're just bases for the bar. So these typically run pretty quick because there's really no details done to them. It's just they're just notching out areas where we can place the logos. The snow is created when the bit is cutting into the ice, and it creates the snow, and that's the effect that you get, which is nice because we use that snow for our deliveries to seal every logo, and we take that snow and we use it for snow fights. Let me take you into the next room here, and I can show you some of the pieces that we've already cut. Right here, you can see that we just finished carving an 8-foot ice bar. All this was done on the CNC machine, every last bit of it, and the logo with color was done with colored sand, and we go in there once it's cut, we clear it all out, and we go back in there and color it with colored sand, and we mix all the colors to get the colors for every logo that we send out. An 8-foot ice bar typically takes about 5 blocks of ice, sometimes between 6, depending on whether we add luges or not. And the weight of an 8-foot ice bar, you're looking at about 1,500 pounds. A bar like this is an actual functional bar that they get to use and serve right from this bar. This right here is called a luge. You pour your drink from the top, and as you can see through the ice, there's a swirl that goes down where your martini glass will catch the drink down here. So you would pour your drink from here like so, and it swirls down, and you place your martini glass here. And these would be bottle displays to keep your liquor cold and chilled. And that's pretty much it. This we have a staging that actually the ice sits on that has LED lighting from underneath, so it's a really nice lighting show as well to highlight the bar. They last anywhere from 8 to 10 hours indoors. Outdoors, depending on condition, whether it's windy, it can last anywhere from 4 to 6 hours, depending how windy it gets. But I always say, just to be on the safe side, you're looking at 6 hours outdoors. As you can see right here is a logo piece that we're working on. We have Anthony, who's our sand specialist, that is creating the actual colors for this logo. And typically it takes about, for each logo, you're looking at about 30 minutes to color and pack back in with snow. It's all done by colored sand, and we have somewhere between 40 different colors, and then we mix colors to create colors that aren't in the color schemes.
That freezer that we were standing in is typically kept between 15 and 20 degrees.
It's gotten really cold in here, but sometimes when you're in the heat of the moment, as I would say, you don't feel it, and you're pretty much, if you get used to it and your body temperature gets used to it. The only thing that really gets cold are your hands and your feet. So if you don't have the right gloves or the right shoes, then yeah, you would have to go and take a break and thaw your feet and hands. But typically, I can pretty much stay in the freezer without taking a break for about 2 hours, and just having the right equipment, you can do that. Every logo that we do, we get the right colors for the logo, and make sure that every logo that goes out, the client's happy with their logo being the exact color that they ordered. Well, we make our own blocks here. We make 16, we actually pull 16 blocks a day, every day, 7 days a week. And once we pull blocks, we actually, let me show you here. We slice them in half to create logos and stuff. And then we store them here on the sides. Whoop, that one almost got away. And we just keep them here, so whenever we need a 4-inch, 5-inch, depending on the size logos that we're doing, we can just grab them from here. So we make our own blocks, and we can actually freeze items in the block. If a client's looking to do rose petals, seashells, anything of that sort, we can freeze items in the block, depending on what they're requesting for and what theme is their party is for. Yeah, we've had power shut off, and then the next morning we come in and everything's melted. So we try to salvage what we can, because we do have 3 freezers, but and sometimes they offset each other with the defrost, so it doesn't completely like melt, but when it goes out, then you have to take half of the product into the other freezer so we can fix the situation. But yeah, that's not really good. It's a lot of work.
That's your worst nightmare?
That's the worst nightmare, because most of the time, you have to redo a lot of the logo piece, or if it's an ice bar, then you basically have to do a whole bar, which if it's delivering that day, you have basically 8 hours to create an ice bar, and it's kind of tough. This right here is a dolphin, as you can see, and this is one of our molded pieces. We have anywhere between 8 molded pieces that we create and we ship next day, FedEx, overnight. And what we do, we have a special packaging that allows us to do that without damage to the sculpture, and with a little bit of dry ice, you can get this anywhere, shipped to your house, restaurant, next day. Right here is our seafood bowl. We have a mold for the shape of the bowl here, and then what we do is we place the seashells, and they freeze into the actual bowl. And as you can see, you have a nice seafood bowl for shrimp. And these typically last anywhere from 9 to 12 hours. Right now we have Rick, who's actually, once everything's colored, once we color the logo, he's going in there with snow and water to pack the sand in there to seal it. And this is a process that we do once everything's colored, so the logo will be sealed and last throughout their event without the sand falling out. He's packing the snow in there as tight as possible, so it's a tight seal, so you don't have any air that would go in there and melt it as fast as possible. No, this is something that I mean, there's not a few ice companies out there. You kind of, it's still one of those industry that is still growing, and there's still a lot more to learn, and we just within the last, I'd say, 7 years, the industry started using CNC machines. Before everything was done by chainsaws, power tools, and so now because of the demand in ice, everybody's using the technology that's out there to apply it to ice.
Coming up after the break, find out what makes these ice blocks more than just your average ice cube. You won't want to miss it. Stay with us.
SBTN là đài truyền hình Việt ngữ đầu tiên phát hình 24 giờ qua hệ thống DirecTV và cable trên toàn cõi Hoa Kỳ và Canada. SBTN phục vụ khán giả hàng ngày với lượng tin tức cập nhật sáng, trưa, chiều, tối, dồi dào, đáng tin cậy, cùng hàng loạt tin tức địa phương từ Little Saigon, San Jose, Dallas, Houston đến Washington DC, Boston, Toronto và Việt Nam. Phim bộ hấp dẫn lôi cuốn, cải lương đặc sắc, tâm tình nghệ sĩ thú vị, vui tươi, nhạc yêu cầu thấm thiết chân tình, thể thao văn nghệ đời sống sống động hào hứng, Victoria Show với thế giới điện ảnh kỳ thú mới lạ. SBTN luôn đồng hành với khán giả qua các diễn đàn và những phiên phóng sự nóng bỏng, ghi nhận các sinh hoạt văn hóa, giáo dục, chính trị, xã hội của người Việt khắp nơi trên thế giới và tại quê nhà, cùng với những nhận định thực tế, sắc bén của các thức giả đương đại. SBTN đáp ứng nhu cầu của mọi giới, mọi lứa tuổi qua các chương trình tìm hiểu luật pháp, di trú tị nạn, sức khỏe và đời sống, thể dục dưỡng sinh, em học tiếng Việt, lịch sử Việt Nam, hàng loạt chương trình giải trí phong phú lành mạnh như Người mẫu Việt Nam, Hành trình xuyên Việt, sân khấu cuối tuần, cùng với các cuộc thi thố tài năng hào hứng sôi nổi qua các show Đố Ai, giải sáng tác hay nhất, giải những thước phim vàng sẽ lần lượt khởi chiếu trên SBTN. Mọi chi tiết về chương trình, ghi danh quảng cáo bảo trợ xin vào website www.sbtn.tv. SBTN hân hạnh giới thiệu DVD Người mẫu Việt Nam với cuộc thi tài sắc đầy hào hứng của 20 cô gái Việt trẻ đẹp, duyên dáng, cùng chương trình ca nhạc đặc sắc với sự góp mặt của các tiếng hát trẻ trung được ái mộ nhất hiện nay: Thiên Kim, Lâm Nhật Tiến, Quốc Khanh, Đoàn Phi, Nguyễn Hồng Nhung, Christine Sa, Như Quỳnh, Đan Nguyên. 20 kiều nữ Việt, 20 niềm hy vọng, nhưng chỉ có duy nhất một danh hiệu Top Model, nên họ đã trải qua nhiều thử thách gay go, sôi nổi, phô trương những nét tuyệt mỹ và tài năng, đặc biệt nhất qua các chương trình biểu diễn thời trang và phong cách.
We're lining up to go out on the runway, and then we heard this boom.
It's actually my mom's idea.
She knew that this was a passion of mine since I was very young.
Kính thưa quý vị, người đã thắng giải Top Model năm 2008 là thí sinh.
Ai là Top Model 2008? Hãy mua DVD Người mẫu Việt Nam do Trung tâm Asia phát hành ngày 31 tháng 12 năm 2008.
Welcome back to In Focus. I'm your host, Phan. Before the break, we got a quick look at what it takes to turn ice into functioning art. In this segment, we'll find out the details of how water is turned into ice and why it's not as simple as putting water into a freezer.
We sometimes get challenged with certain ice sculpture pieces, which I think those are my favorite because I'm so used to the norm, you know, happy birthday sculptures and your basic company logos that it gives our creativity, you know, time to think outside the box and create something that's a little different that the client pushes us to do. So I like doing those, and those don't come too often, but they're fun when they do.
This technique here, using hand chainsaws and tools, used to be the industry standard for ice sculptures. But with the advent of efficient technology, 90% of the ice sculptures done today are by these highly calibrated machines. Chainsaws are mainly used for special projects and for details.
Go ahead, Anthony. He's going to use a chainsaw.
I'm not sure if you noticed this small detail, but Anthony, the sand specialist and overall ice carving expert, is wearing a short-sleeved shirt in a 15-degree freezer.
A V chisel, basically that gives it a V cut, give it that flair to a single line cut.
Since ice is a fickle and unpredictable medium, mistakes often happen and sometimes the ice cracks or breaks. Sometimes they can fix it and sometimes they're not so lucky.
Depends on how it breaks. If it's a very clean break where you can seal it back together with just one clean break as opposed to like 3 or 4 different breaks, it's kind of hard to piece everything together because they don't all fit perfectly in, you know, like a puzzle. Sometimes you can't find the right piece for it to connect. So if it's one clean break, yeah, it makes it very easy for us to fix. We blow out the snow in here to get all the snow out with a compressor. Go ahead. That's how we blow out the sand. That clears out all the snow, and then we can go in there and start coloring it. Anytime we do a logo piece, we typically go a minimum of 1 inch into the ice. That way it gives plenty of time for it to last, so it doesn't melt out completely. So typically 1 inch minimum. Sometimes we go 1.5 inches, depending on what size bit we use for the logo. We can go deeper, but if it's very intricate, and our bit can only go so far, so 1 inch is usually the minimum that we go in. Here's the Jaguar that's printed out. This is what I give to the guys when they start to color the the sculpture. So they try to match the color and to get the exact color for the sculpture. And then I create this in Illustrator and on a computer, and then I import it into a program called ArtCam to create how deep I wanted to cut in the ice. Here's another piece that that they just finished coloring. This logo was just duplicated from the picture they have here. As you can see, they came really close to the color. These right here are there are ice block makers. We can get a 10-inch thick block in 4 days. These block makers here are the ones that we actually freeze product in, whether they're seashells or silk roses, anything in here. We measure with just a basic ruler here. As you can see, we already have about halfway a clear block. So in about 2 more days, this block will be ready to pull. As you can see, the ice is very clear. Let me pull the pump here. We have a clear block here, as you can see where the measuring stick is at. We're about 5.5 inches, and then this right now would be a good time to freeze product in the ice, and we layer it. We can do 3 different layers depending on design to give it that cool 3-dimensional look to it. The process of making it clear, we have to have the pump running just for the minerals to circulate so they don't all stay in one area, and then that's how you get white blocks. Otherwise, you got to just keep the pump going so it keeps circulating, and then that's where the clearness of a block happens. It's usually ionized water that we use to pour in there. It's like a filtered water, and then we just keep a pump running. If we don't have a pump there, then we would have some white. It won't be clear, but we always try to have a very clear block so the ice looks better when we put logos, and it almost looks like crystal.
For 4 days and you get a block of ice.
Yeah, 4 days you get a 10-inch block, 20 by 40 full block of ice, weighing somewhere around 250 to 300 pounds. It takes about 4 hours for 16 blocks to be pulled, and then you got another 4 hours to fill them up with water. So it's a pretty long process. You have to adapt to a lot of variables, with ice. As you can see right here, these are our block makers, and these are fully ready to be pulled. And these containers are a lot longer than normal. They're about 46 inches tall by 20 inches wide. And then we just hook them on the side, and then we use one of our crane system, and they pull one at a time. And those machines are very accurate. Those are the CNC machines that we use there. They're basic for very precise. They use it for aerospace. By them cutting it at 2-inch, 4-inch, I have to size it perfectly over there. Otherwise, if it's off, then it could damage the bit because it can go too far into the ice. If you give me too much. So what he did is he cut a 4-inch block, in half, and we're going to use a 2-inch to do our center, those little centerpieces. The temperature that we have here, it's 10 degrees, so the water is very, very cold, and you can get a real shock when you fall in there. So if you don't get back up right away, then it's not pretty.
And someone has fallen in before.
Someone has fallen in. They might have lost their footing, and they fell in there for a short second, and they came out. So they haven't fallen in completely, but maybe like a leg or an arm. Yeah, it is. But it's funny.
Ice sculptures are a great thing to behold if they're done right and with imagination. Next time you go to a holiday party where there are ice bars and sculptures involved, you know what it took to make it happen. On behalf of everyone here at SBTN, we do wish you a safe and happy holiday filled with joy and family. Until next time, we hope you learn more, live more, and then always stay focused. Thanks for watching.